A floating warehouse held enough explosive to vaporize a city. For 6 years, nobody moved it. On August 4, 2020, at exactly 6:07 p.m., 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate detonated in Beirut's port. The blast measured 3.3 on the Richter scale. It was heard 250 kilometers away in Cyprus. The mushroom cloud rose 4 kilometers into the sky. Over 218 people died instantly. Another 7,000 were injured. Half of Beirut was destroyed in 43 seconds. But here's what nobody tells you. This wasn't an accident. It was a countdown. 21 warnings were sent. 21 times, officials were told this cargo would explode. 21 times, they filed the paper and did nothing. The ship that brought this bomb was called the MV RHOSUS. It arrived in Beirut in November 2013. It was never supposed to stop there. The vessel was bound for Mozambique, carrying fertilizer. But the owner, a Russian businessman named Igor Grechishkin, abandoned the ship. He left it docked. He left the crew. And he left 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate sitting in the Mediterranean sun. What the crew didn't know was that their cargo was slowly becoming a weapon. And what Lebanese officials refused to admit was that they were the ones arming it. The MV RHOSUS was a rust bucket. Built in 1986, the Moldovan-flagged vessel was barely seaworthy. Captain Boris Prokofiev had sailed it from Georgia to Mozambique. His employer owed him months of wages. The ship leaked. The engine failed constantly. When it limped into Beirut for emergency repairs in November 2013, Lebanese port authorities immediately knew something was wrong. They inspected the cargo. Hangar 12 became its temporary home. The ammonium nitrate was stored in 2,750 white sacks. Each bag weighed 1 ton. The hangar was a crumbling concrete structure built in the 1960s. It had no climate control. No security. No fire suppression system. Just metal doors and prayers. Port officials detained the ship. They found it violated safety standards. Igor Grechishkin, the owner, simply vanished. He stopped answering calls. He abandoned the crew. 7 sailors were stranded on the MV RHOSUS for over a year. They survived on charity from local churches. Captain Prokofiev begged to be allowed to leave. In December 2014, a judge finally let the crew go home. But the cargo stayed. On August 23, 2014, Lebanese Customs Director Shafik Meri wrote his first letter. He addressed it to Judge Ghassan Waidat. The message was clear. The ammonium nitrate in Hangar 12 posed extreme danger. It needed to be removed immediately or sold to the Lebanese army. Judge Waidat filed the letter. He did nothing. Customs Director Meri wrote again. And again. And again. Between 2014 and 2020, he sent 6 identical warnings. Each one more urgent than the last. Each one ignored. But Meri wasn't the only one sounding the alarm. Port workers noticed the bags were deteriorating. Humidity was breaking down the ammonium nitrate. When the compound degrades, it becomes shock sensitive. A spark could ignite it. A dropped tool could detonate it. Workers reported cracks in the sacks. White powder spilled across the hangar floor. Still, nobody moved it. What port workers didn't know was that Hangar 12 was also storing fireworks. Tons of confiscated pyrotechnics sat just meters away from the ammonium nitrate. It was the perfect storm. And the fuse was already lit. The paper trail is damning. Between 2014 and 2020, 21 official warnings were sent. Every single one documented. Every single one ignored. In 2016, Customs Officer Jad Rizik inspected Hangar 12. He found the bags splitting open. He saw moisture seeping through cracks in the roof. He wrote to his superiors. He warned that the ammonium nitrate was becoming unstable. His report was filed. Nothing changed. In 2017, Port Security Chief Major Joseph Saloon wrote directly to State Security. He outlined the danger. He requested immediate action. State Security forwarded the letter to the Ministry of Public Works. The ministry forwarded it to the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice sent it back to the port. The circle was complete. Nobody took responsibility. In 2019, a team of explosive experts visited Hangar 12. They assessed the cargo. Their conclusion was terrifying. The ammonium nitrate had degraded to the point where any ignition source could cause detonation. They recommended immediate removal. Their report went to General Security Chief Major General Abbas Ibrahim. He acknowledged the danger. He did nothing. By 2020, Hangar 12 was a ticking bomb. Everyone knew it. Port workers joked nervously about the warehouse. They called it the bomb. They knew what was inside. And they knew nobody cared. On July 20, 2020, 15 days before the explosion, a fire broke out near Hangar 12. Port workers scrambled to extinguish it. They contained the blaze. But they noticed something disturbing. The doors to Hangar 12 had been welded shut. Someone had sealed the warehouse. Whether it was to prevent theft or to hide the contents, nobody knows. What we do know is that welding near ammonium nitrate creates sparks. And sparks near degraded ammonium nitrate are lethal. The countdown had entered its final hours. On August 4, 2020, workers were conducting repairs on Hangar 12. They were welding a broken door. At approximately 5:30 p.m., smoke was spotted coming from the warehouse. Port workers called the fire brigade. Firefighters arrived at 5:45 p.m. They entered the hangar. They saw the smoke. They saw the torn sacks. They saw the white powder everywhere. And then they saw the fireworks. At 6:07 p.m., the fireworks ignited. For 43 seconds, they exploded in a brilliant display. Tourists filmed it. People gathered at windows to watch. They had no idea what was coming next. At 6:08 p.m., the ammonium nitrate detonated. The explosion registered as a magnitude 3.3 earthquake. It released energy equivalent to 1.1 kilotons of TNT. That's approximately 1/15 the power of the Hiroshima bomb. But this was in a densely populated urban area. The blast wave traveled at over 3,500 meters per second. It vaporized Hangar 12 instantly. It created a crater 140 meters wide and 43 meters deep. Every building within 500 meters was obliterated. Windows shattered 10 kilometers away. The shockwave was felt in Turkey, Syria, and Cyprus. The mushroom cloud was visible from space. After the blast, everyone claimed ignorance. Government officials said they didn't know. Port authorities said they weren't informed. Security chiefs said the warnings never reached them. But the documents tell a different story. Prime Minister Hassan Diab received a security report on July 20, 2020. 15 days before the explosion. The report explicitly mentioned the danger in Hangar 12. Diab later claimed he didn't read it thoroughly. President Michel Aoun knew about the ammonium nitrate as early as 2017. His office received multiple briefings. He claims he was told the material was stored safely. He was told it was outdoors. Both were lies. But the most damning evidence points to Judge Ghassan Ouaidat. He was the judge responsible for maritime cases at Beirut port. Between 2014 and 2020, he received 6 urgent letters from Customs Director Shafik Meri. Every letter begged him to authorize removal of the ammonium nitrate. Every letter warned of catastrophic consequences. Judge Ouaidat never responded. Not once. After the explosion, investigators discovered why. Moving the ammonium nitrate required coordination between multiple agencies. Each agency wanted payment. Each agency wanted liability protection. Each agency refused to act without the others. So nobody acted at all. The cargo became a bureaucratic orphan. Too dangerous to ignore. Too complicated to move. And too profitable to destroy. Because here's what investigators found later. Multiple private companies had offered to buy the ammonium nitrate. Lebanese army officials requested it for military use. Agricultural companies wanted it for fertilizer. Every offer was rejected. Why? Because selling the cargo required admitting it was improperly stored. Admitting improper storage meant accepting liability. Accepting liability meant someone could be blamed. So the cargo sat. And the clock kept ticking. When the explosion finally came, it killed 218 people. Among them were 10 firefighters. They were the first responders who entered Hangar 12. They saw the danger. They radioed for evacuation. But there wasn't time. The blast vaporized them. Their bodies were never found. Captain Mahmoud Hawi was one of them. He was 39 years old. He had 3 children. His last radio transmission was recorded at 6:06 p.m. 1 minute before detonation. He said the fire was spreading to the white bags. He said they needed to evacuate the port. He said this could be big. His voice cut off mid-sentence. Also killed was Sahar Fairs. She was the first female firefighter in Lebanon's history. She was 27 years old. She had joined the brigade 2 years earlier. Her colleagues said she insisted on entering Hangar 12. She wanted to prove herself. She wanted to save lives. Instead, she became a statistic. The explosion left 300,000 people homeless. It destroyed 6,000 buildings. It caused an estimated $15 billion in damage. It shattered Lebanon's already fragile economy. But the real cost wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in betrayal. 3 years later, nobody has been held accountable. Investigations have stalled. Charges have been dropped. Judges have been threatened. Evidence has disappeared. The families of the 218 dead are still waiting for justice. They've filed lawsuits. They've protested in the streets. They've demanded answers. They've been met with silence. In December 2020, Lebanon charged 4 port officials with negligence. The investigation quickly expanded to include former Prime Minister Hassan Diab and former Finance Minister Ali Hassan Khalil. But in February 2021, the investigation was suspended. Political pressure mounted. Witnesses refused to testify. Documents went missing. By 2023, the investigation was effectively dead. Judge Tariq Baitar, who led the probe, was blocked from questioning senior officials. He was accused of bias. He received death threats. His family was harassed. He eventually stepped down. Today, the crater where Hangar 12 stood is still there. It's filled with seawater now. A makeshift memorial sits at the edge. Photographs of the dead. Flowers. Candles. And a single question painted in red. Who is responsible? The answer is everyone. And no one. The cargo was abandoned by Igor Grechishkin. It was detained by port authorities. It was ignored by judges. It was forgotten by politicians. It was welded shut by workers. It was ignited by welders. Every person in the chain made a choice. Every choice led to August 4, 2020. Beirut's explosion wasn't a random disaster. It was the inevitable result of corruption, negligence, and cowardice. It was the price of bureaucracy valuing procedure over people. And it was proof that the most dangerous weapon isn't ammonium nitrate. It's indifference. The people who lost homes, loved ones, and hope aren't asking for revenge. They're asking for acknowledgement. They're asking for someone to say, "We failed you." But in Lebanon, where power is divided among sectarian elites, accountability is a fantasy. The explosion shattered buildings. But it couldn't shatter the system that caused it. If you think ignored warnings and buried evidence can cause catastrophe, remember Beirut. Remember 2,750 tons sitting in the sun. Remember 21 letters filed and forgotten. And remember that somewhere, right now, another ignored warning is ticking toward detonation. Send this to someone who needs to hear it. Then subscribe for a new dark truth every day.